probably heard about Mama Boy, or the boy who said mama, and there have been many conflicting reports about him. The boy who had 55 million followers on TikTok and over 12 million followers on YouTube, but now, for over a year, there's been no trace of him on TikTok and YouTube. Yes, now he is in prison. He was always known for his innocent and funny persona. Today, I want to explain in detail, using accurate Korean sources, what happened and go through everything. My only request from you is to like this video. This person was born in 1996 in Daegu, South Korea. Daegu is very famous for artistic celebrities because two well-known Korean figures, Suga and Taeyong, both members of the BTS group, were born there, and the people of Korea have a positive image of this city. He grew up in a family with relatively good financial conditions and had good relationships with those around him because of his cute face and sense of humor. He was 168 centimeters tall and had many friends. This smart boy finished his studies in the arts with the highest grades. He attended Dong-A Media Arts University, majoring in broadcasting and sound production. After completing his military service in the South Korean Navy, he entered the virtual world, and around 2020, in just 2 to 3 years, he gained 50 million followers. What was interesting is that there was no big label or advertising agency behind him, and his performance during this period was quite strange because as an ordinary individual, he was able to gain 50 million followers in 3 years. He initially posted videos of himself, and using the phrase mama, which is something children say when they're scared or anxious, calling for their mothers. He tried to establish a funny connection with his audience, and this approach was very successful. He initially posted videos. However, some people in Korea didn't find him funny enough, but the majority of his followers were from outside South Korea. But the story takes a turn on December 22nd, 2023, when people in South Korea were watching the news on the Korean network SBS, and a strange report aired. The famous Korean TikToker with millions of followers was arrested for sexual assault. The truth is that he was one of the most well-known TikTokers in South Korea and had created an innocent image of himself. Even though the media had suggested that Suwon Jong could be a possible suspect, there were still people who didn't believe it. The media reported that he hadn't posted any TikTok videos for a while and had quickly made all his videos private. When he privatized the videos, that was the exact moment the suspicions grew, and eventually everything was confirmed. The interesting part of the story is that the incident had happened 6 months earlier, and now it was being reported. According to the reports, the story goes like this. In July, the boy went to the house of an acquaintance of his, a man named Saewon Young. They brought a girl to the house with whom they didn't have a very close relationship and, under the pretense of having a good time, took her to their apartment. They tried to intoxicate her as much as they could, and when the girl passed out, they assaulted her. There is a point raised in the subsequent defense claiming that drinking alcohol and getting drunk was the girl's own choice. But the girl said that they were forcing her to drink more by filling her glass until she lost consciousness. She says that when she regained consciousness, she realized that they had filmed her. After coming to, the girl did not immediately react to them, trying to avoid causing any trouble. The next day, she reported the incident to the police, and despite knowing that she had been filmed, continued by saying that perhaps the videos would be released. When the police heard her statements, they said that they couldn't take her word at face value and needed evidence. Therefore, they took the address of the incident and sent police forces to the location. When the police arrived at the location, the two boys were in the house. However, when they realized that the police were at the door, they went into the bedroom and tried to mislead the police by making them think no one was home through the windows. The police knocked several times, but no one answered the door. Meanwhile, the girl contacted one of the boys, and they responded that they were still at the house. This prompted the police to immediately enter the house with the help of firefighters through the windows, and eventually the two were arrested. Their second mistake came when they shared their TikTok videos, which was also one of the key reasons for their arrest. The police didn't open the door, essentially exposing themselves. After their arrest, Soo-won-jung said, "I don't understand why I'm here. Everything I did with that girl was consensual. You can't see any signs of torn clothes or vomit from alcohol in the house. If I had wanted to force her, you would have seen at least one of these signs." Another point he made was, the girl was fully conscious during the intercourse, her eyes were open, and she only passed out afterward. So this was her choice. Apart from that, his acquaintance, whose name was Se-young, apparently filmed everything with his mobile phone. The filming might have been to threaten the girl into not filing a complaint, prevent the potential release of the video, and it was definitely done without the girl's consent. Although no trace of the video was found on his phone, as he had deleted it, he confessed to the police that he had filmed it because he knew that if the phone was inspected, the police could easily recover the files. After the news went public, many people in Korea started unfollowing him on TikTok and YouTube, but the interesting thing is that this decline was very slow. As I mentioned earlier, a large portion of his followers were from outside South Korea, and they hadn't heard the full details of the story yet. Maybe it's better to say that even if they had heard it, they couldn't believe it. During this time, he once changed his TikTok and Instagram account IDs and names. When he did this, opportunistic people immediately took advantage of the now vacant ID and created new accounts with the same name, hoping to become famous themselves. Do you know what's really strange? After the news became public, to everyone's surprise, instead of his follower count decreasing on TikTok, thousands of new followers started following him after a few weeks. Some people even tried to spread rumors to stir things up and defend him, as they had an image of the slim and seemingly kind boy that didn't align with the reality. Several important events happened during this time. In episode 84 of a YouTube show, he made an appearance. However, after the news broke, he quickly made the video on his YouTube channel private, fearing potential backlash. On the other hand, in South Korea, there is an event called the Grand Bell Awards, a prestigious film award given by the Korean Film Association to the best in Korean cinema. Since most of the films are dramas, the event has a serious and formal atmosphere. It had already been decided that one of the main hosts of the awards ceremony would be none other than our Mama Boy story, Soo-won-jung. It was an interesting choice for the position, but his controversial comments and actions during the ceremony, which he claimed were intended to entertain and change the mood, sparked strong negative reactions. Even though this ceremony was a rare opportunity for him to prove himself and showcase his abilities, he behaved in such an odd way that he even misnamed the event he was hosting. In the end, in the final trial held in Seoul, South Korea's capital, Soo-won-jung was sentenced to 3 years and 6 months in prison. As we watch this video now, he is currently incarcerated. Interestingly, according to the explicit text of South Korean law, if someone commits assault on a person who is semi-conscious or unconscious, the minimum punishment is 7 years in prison. However, the reason Soo-won-jung was sentenced to 3 years and 6 months is that his lawyer was able to significantly prove that the initiation of the relationship was with the girl's awareness and consent. It's also important to note that his sentence is not a suspended sentence. You see, unless in certain specific cases, a suspended sentence must be fully served and it cannot be bought out. Once the sentence is issued, the imprisonment must be served under all circumstances, just like your friend who was sentenced to 4 years and 6 months in prison, because firstly, the incident took place at his own house. They filmed a woman during the assault, and he participated in the incident. non-suspended sentence can be appealed or even pardoned after some time, or in some cases not served at all. A very famous example is Salman Khan and the murder he committed, for which he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Since his sentence was suspended, Salman Khan never served time, and several years later the court ruled in his favor, meaning it was as if he had never been in prison. What is clear, in my opinion, is that the sentence here may have been issued in a way that allows for the possibility of a fine and his release later, because with his massive fame, South Korea may be worried about how the news could negatively impact its image on the global stage. South Korea is very sensitive about the image it creates worldwide, and we see this reflected in its films, TV series, brands, and even its music groups. What is evident is that when Soo Jung is released, he will never be able to return to the online world, as he will never regain the popularity and credibility he once had. Personally, I think that either, like some of the failed celebrities in South Korea, he will release a long statement of apology and explanation and then vanish, or he will apologize and continue working, but with a much lower profile. We have seen similar stories in South Korea before, the most recent example being the famous professor and actor Joe Monkey, who after the news of his sexual assault of female students went public, wrote an apology to all the media, the public, and his family, and then took his own life. What I predict is that Soo Jung may have a lot to say. What do you think people should do in this situation? From my observations on social media and videos, there is a lot of negativity and backlash against him. But the question I always ask myself is, did he not know that his actions would make the news and lead to such consequences? Did he intentionally plan to get the girl drunk and assault her? Did he underestimate the power of his fame? Or why did they leave the girl behind? When I think about all this, a scenario comes to mind. But what remains clear is that no matter how famous someone is, they must abide by the law. That girl, as far as we know, if this story is true, clearly had the courage to report and pursue her legal rights without fearing the possible spread of the video. In any case, my dear friend, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.